Hi, everyone.
Hey,
Hi there.
Sean, what's up?
Hi.
Okay, then. Hi, folks. Welcome back to our second mainnet get together. Today is a pretty big deal. It's all system go for our mainnet rollout plan, and we've got some big updates. Here is the rundown for today's call. So, firstly, Alon is going to let us in on where we're at with mainnet. He'll be sharing the latest on our tech upgrades and laying out the next steps on our roadmap. Then he'll give us a rundown of how we're doing in our current phase, and he'll give us a lowdown on our limited launch. Next up, we've got G Beast, who is going to clue us in on the verified operators, who they are and who they are and what they are up to. And then he'll walk us through the ins and outs of the verified operator committee and how the verified operators were selected. Iridian is going to get our brains buzzing with a chat about MEV on DVT. And then last but definitely not least, I'll be hitting you with the results of our last OAT campaign and also showing you how to get involved in our current campaign that's just gone up. So without further ado, let's head on over to Alon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alan. Happy to join everyone on the second Mainnet Call. Pretty big milestone as we transition from the pre-launch to the limited launch. So I wanted to kind of summarize all of the things we've been doing the past month and a half, where things are in terms of the existing mainnet phase and where things are headed with the next phase. And so obviously we've launched the pre-launch phase about a month and a half ago, a pretty simplistic or simple phase to just test the waters on mainnet for SSV. We started out with just 4 operators, 32 validators, been running for a month. The idea was to check that on mainnet we get performance right, we get stability right, we get all of the different bits and bytes around mainnet launch right, and all systems are go. This is kind of a precursor to the next phase, which is limited launch, and also kind of really see how things are working on mainnet. And I'm pretty stoked to kind of share with you all. So we've been running a month, actually just over a month on mainnet with 32 validators, one cluster of 4 operators and 32 validators. And in the meantime, also benchmarking ourselves or SSV performance versus a standardized Lighthouse setup, a validator client and a beacon node, and other DVT implementations out there, and really benchmarked it to see our performance, our stability, and all of that. It's super important. As you can see, in terms of really attestation rate and the proposal rate, we are a proposal rate we're at 100%. Attestation rate we're 99.96 or something. So you can call it 100%. Which is crucial. It also means that the way SSV was designed for being fault tolerant and being even more robust than standard setup by Lighthouse, Prism, and other of the big implementations, it's actually outperforming them. If we kind of compare ourselves to the average mainnet performance, and then we're slightly above, really close to 100, almost 100% attestation rate, and effectiveness just over 99%, as we kind of benchmarked it against the way Big On Chain is calculating station effectiveness. And so this is really good news. It means that everything is ready, not just ready, everything is actually outperforming other taking setups, whatever you want to call it. And it's really important. It was important for us from the get-go, and now we're seeing the results on mainnet, and it's pretty good. And so this is really what will enable us to go and scale it up, right, in on limited launch, and obviously later on in other phases, because we know the base is really sound. Not only that we've kind of worked really hard on making sure the performance is right, we also did a lot of work on the node and spec to make things even faster and more optimized. And so one of the big things we did was with a lot of magic around P2P optimizations and signature verification optimizations, we've actually reduced by 30% duty execution, which is pretty important. Again, if we go back to performance, the more you can shave off how long it takes for a DVT cluster to execute a duty from beginning to end, the better likelihood of performance being better, and as we saw, kind of being even better than what the current best in class can offer. Not only that, we did a lot of work on liveness issues and challenges we know we had, and actually other implementations have as well, but didn't really solve them. We did with SIP 10, and again, anyone who's interested can go to the GitHub and kind of read about it. But that's a major fix we had to do, both for the audits, but also just as kind of for the obviously for the liveness of the protocol. And we added 3 community boot nodes. That means that a boot node has the responsibility of enabling discovery between different SSV nodes. And so up until now, we really use just our own boot node, but now we have 3 community-led boot nodes, which is again crucial for decentralizations, robustness, and all of those things. And so all three of those factors were really implemented the past 3 months. Some of them started development before that, but really came to fruition the past month during the pre-launch phase. And that's really great, especially again removing and reducing 30% execution time for duties. It's pretty remarkable. Also, as part of our audits and going back and forth with the audit teams and so on and so forth, we changed our contracts to a diamond type architecture, which cut a long story short, it really enables us to extend functionality in the contracts in the future to things like fee abstraction and all of those types of things. It's a really important thing to do right now. Otherwise, in the future, it might be a bit more difficult. We solved 2 major issues we found, which is front running and replay attacks on the contracts, again, as part of the audits. And it's a great catch, and fixed it. And obviously the audits themselves, we finished up the audits. We'll make that public, I believe, probably in the next few weeks, both for the contract, the spec, and the node. And so again, that's a pretty significant chunk of work that we've been doing even before the pre-launch, but as part of that, we've completed. And really it brings us to the next phase. So pre-launch is over, it's finished. And starting next week, we are starting limited launch. Limited launch means, if anyone remembers, it's introducing a bunch of new node operators, which are partners for the launching of SSV. James will talk about it in a few minutes. And not just introducing those new operators, but also introducing a lot more validators into the mainnet to test it out, to see how it works, to see how different, completely independent operators work on mainnet, execute duties, performance, robustness, setups, all of those types of things. Again, super crucial to start testing out. And so this is what we'll do. And for the first time, MEV will start playing a major role in SSV as well, starting obviously from testnet, transitioning to mainnet, but that's really something we will be testing during the limited launch. And so again, if you kind of connect all the dots, really the limited launch, by the end of the limited launch, will be at a point where everything was tested on the SSV front to go to the next phase, which is where staking applications come into play, start building on SSV, start launching LSTs and pools and different things and applications and services on top of SSV. And so that's really where we're headed. That's what the next phase is, starting this week, really. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alon. That was really insightful. I think it is super important to make these last few changes and implementations to shave off those last few milliseconds. Like you said, it really does make a big difference at the end of the day. And I think also integrating MEV is very important. I mean, almost basically everyone wants to have MEV enabled. And now, we have an open protocol which anyone can join and just select, who they'd like to have be their operators and which relays they're running. And definitely, I think it's important for an open protocol such as us to have, all of these base functionalities so that people can subscribe to it. And then, I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Robert. I'm the content specialist here at SSV. We've been doing a lot of good work. So I'd just like to pass the baton to G-Beast, who's going to give us a nice overview of those VOs.
All right, there we go. Hey, hello, everybody. How are you today? I'm G-Beast. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the verified operators and the verified operator committee. I've been in this role for about a half a year now. I got introduced to SSV through DAppNode and through some of the early associations that SSV had with the DAppNode community. I'm one of the community moderators there. And I've been working with DAppNode and staking blockchains for 2.5 years now, and was an early participant in SSV and the test nets. And so really, have enjoyed seeing this product grow and evolve. As far as the verified operators go, we're going to talk a little bit about what they are and where they came from, and then the function of the verified operator committee, and then how we are rebooting the program as we gear up towards mainnet, and then finally take a little look at who's currently in the program. The reason we have the verified operators really gets back to who can you trust in the SSV community. It's ultimately a permissionless protocol, and so anyone can sign up to be an operator. And how do you know who's going to be a good operator and a trusted one for you if you're trying to stake your money? So the verified operator program works a little bit like sort of a seal of approval from the SSV network. It shows that we've conducted a level of due diligence on these people, and gives the stakers some confidence that this is a trusted partner they can work with. From the operator perspective, it's good because it helps with their branding and helps drive signups to them. So that's the real benefit of the program, both to the stakers and to the operators. The program started pretty informally, actually, back in some of the early test nets, Primus testnet, where they were looking to build a base of operators, to start the program. A lot of people signed up, a lot of DAppNode users signed up, but there wasn't really a lot of requirements. You just said you wanted to be in, and they would put you in there. The same operators basically rolled through the incentivized testnet and then the Shifu testnet without a lot of changes. But people kind of would drop out, or they would forget to sort of renew their membership. So going into mainnet, we really felt it was important that we have a more formal and structured approach to setting up verified operators. And that was really where the committee was put together. Our job was to put together some standards for verified operators. What is this program going to look like? And then how do we communicate those standards to the community so that they understand the benefit of verified operators and what it really means? And then we need to manage those standards over time, to be a good steward of them so they stay up to date and current with the current state of the SSV network, and that they're implemented correctly and monitored for performance so that they actually mean something. To do that, we started off by putting together, trying to come up with a methodology for assessing verified operators. We wanted one that was going to be open and transparent, that would apply to both large, industrial-sized staking organizations as well as small and independent operators, that didn't favor the large ones. We're really big proponents of decentralization, so we want to make sure that the small operators are on an equal footing with the large ones. That adds diversity and resilience to the SSV network through multiple staking clients, and that ultimately is as automatable as we can get it. It doesn't require us to manually do everything, because we want to get away from that process as we grow. So what's happening now is, I said, we're sort of rebooting the program. So we recently cleared out the roster of verified operators. So thank you to all the people in the testnet. We're starting with a clean slate now, and we're adding new operators for mainnet. And we've had an application process that started 3-4 months ago, where people provide us information about themselves and their companies, organizations, and we kind of went through and vetted them all with a scorecard. We've got about 45 verified operators now, and we've currently closed the application process as we go into the launch, just to make sure that things are as stable as possible, and then we'll reopen it after launch. So the scorecard we put together has a variety of assessment criteria. One of the big ones is operational experience. So for starters, have you been a testnet operator for at least 3 months? If you haven't been on for 3 months, you may not be serious enough. That was really important. We want to make sure that you had good performance. Ultimately, we're going to have a higher benchmark in production. We want to make sure there's good performance, And then you have bonus points for things like client diversity or being located in other regions or running other chains, things that would show that you have, some real operational experience. There was a KYC component where we wanted to make sure that we could identify who the partners were, that they were able to provide identification or a corporate incorporation certificate, things like that, and that they had some kind of reputation, that we either knew them or business development knew them. Somehow we knew that they were a legitimate organization. And then going forward, there's going to be a small fee involved as a way of helping cover some of the verification costs, and to help control, so we don't get a lot of spam applications. We'll worry about that. But then the longer you stay in the program, you get more points for that. So we're trying to build a long-term sustainable scorecard that we can. And then once someone has been verified, the expectation is basically that they're going to maintain, high performance for their operator. We're looking currently like 98% on the test net. We think we can bump that up to 99% or better on mainnet. And then if someone falls below that, they need to either get their performance back up or run the risk of losing their operator status. But then beyond that, we also just need them to have open lines of communication with us, to be present on our verified operator Discord and be responsive when we reach out. It's for upgrades or fixes, things like that. And if they do have a problem, they do have an outage or something, that they get it resolved quickly, partly because it's going to affect their performance score. But we just want to make sure that we have those open lines of communication to keep the system running at peak performance. So currently, the operators we have, the 45 verified operators, a lot of partners from the earlier test nets, with a lot of people reapply. Our initial focus as a committee was on medium and large size companies, because we're coming out of the gate. We really want to try and get a solid baseline of large performance operators. And so there tend to be a lot of large operators and medium sized from the staking space. But we do have some small ones in there, and we want to make sure we get more of them in the future. So sort of looking forward, we want to have more small and independent people. At the moment, this is our list of the 20 people that are going to be coming out with the mainnet launch. These are the ones that are currently testing on our next generation testnet and are about to get on to mainnet. As you can see, a lot of recognized names, and we think it's a really great set of partners, and we're looking to add more as soon as we get the mainnet out of the way. So that is it for our description of the Verified Operator program. If you want to learn more, we have a landing page on the site where you can learn about the program, see who the current partners are. And then eventually you can link from there to apply for yourselves when you reopen the applications. But it's bit.ly/ssv.network, Verified Operator Program. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much for you as well, GBeast. That is quite wild and definitely a big thing to be helping overseeing. VRs definitely are the next big thing for us in our launch phase for limited launch. Having all those guys up there, getting everything ready and testing, and getting ready for the next phase. I'd just like to introduce then our next speaker, Iridian, and he'll be covering MEV on DVT and pretty much what Alon was speaking about earlier, the integration and a bit about how it works and best practices.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'll start sharing my screen and get some notes up for you all. Okay, there you go. So yeah, my talk today, 5 minutes of your time, is going to be talking about MEV on SSV. So just a little bit to start with about who I am. So I'm Iridian, and I'm an Ethereum staking enthusiast. So I'm just a community member of working on all things Ethereum staking and DVT. The things I've worked on, like the ETH Staker knowledge base, wrote a large chunk of that. Recently been onboarded to the SSV grants committee. So get to see all the new proposals coming in and support the SSV community in that way. I'm also a DV Stakers node operator, so actually running some of these SSV operators all over the world. Recently set one up in Kenya as the first African SSV operator, which was really cool. And then also working on other projects like staking directory as well. So broad remit, lots of things to do with staking and DVT. So let's just jump in now to talk about MEV on SSV. Now, MEV is quite interesting, and DVT in general, about how duties work and how block proposals happen. And we'll just start by talking about that quickly and say, where if you have 4 people in a cluster, you see in this diagram, you've got 4 operators. A duty comes in, and somebody has to, in the current setup, there is a leader It's randomly selected, and one participant in the cluster, one operator, is chosen to be the leader of that duty. Now, that duty may be an attestation, it may be a block proposal, it may be something else. And that leader then says, this is the value that we're going to sign. It could be the attestation that we're all going to agree on, or it could be the block proposal. And they sign that, and they say, this is what we're going to sign. They send it out to everyone else, and it all gets agreed on, and consensus is reached. And that's how a proposal works, or a duty works with DVT. Now, how does MEV fit into that? So without MEV, as I just described, vanilla blocks are proposed and it gets passed through. Now, when you're running MEV through DVT and as a solo staker, you each run your MEV client on your own machine. As you can see here, the little Flashbox logo representing that. And when a cluster is required to perform a duty, the cluster leader submits it. So nothing changes there. It's just you're running Flashbots on your machine. One of the key differences is what's actually sent. So when you propose a vanilla block from your own machine, it's quite big, on the order of megabytes potentially, which can have issues when the cluster is quite distributed, because you're sending a relatively large amount of data that needs to achieve consensus in a short period of time. But with MEV, there are advantages where the block headers that you're sending, you're only signing the block header, so it's actually very small, on the order of kilobytes, which means that the block propagation is a lot faster. So that's how MEV can also even further improve the effectiveness, the statistics that Alon was showing before. So that's really exciting as well. What does it mean for the clusters, though? So let's look at some cases here when, say, somebody isn't running MEV, or somebody's offline. So if an operator proposes an MEV block, then only the operators that are actually running MEV boost can sign and verify that block. So that means that if for some reason someone wasn't running MEV boost, they wouldn't be able to participate in the proposal of a block. It's something to be aware of, as MEV boost is an additional client that is run on a machine, and if someone decides to not run it, it can affect consensus, but it won't necessarily cause the block proposal to fail. It will just get missed out. Similarly, in the reverse of that, if a vanilla block is built and it's proposed by the leader who's not using MEV, then everyone else is fine to sign it, even if you are using MEV boost, because you'll see that as a whole block, as a vanilla block, and you'll sign it like normal. So MEV is always additional to, MEV boost is always additional to, but it doesn't restrict the native vanilla block building as well. So it's just something to be aware of, where if everyone's running MEV, great, you get the best of both worlds. If someone decides to build a vanilla block, you've got neat things like min bid, where you can say, I'm going to support the chain even further by saying, if the bid is below a certain amount, I'm going to build it vanilla. And that's something that this supports, because it allows you to get the best of both. So that's something to consider. So how does this actually work? How will this work in the UI when it comes to selecting your operators, and what information will you see? Well, in the new web interface that's going to be available when this comes out, you'll be able to select, you'll be able to show a lot of information about your operator, which people can then use to select. And this may come down, as we were hearing about before, verified operators and what they're offering and criteria there. So what you can see here is things like display name and descriptions, but also if you're a cloud provider, or if you're a home staker, your locations, the different clients you're actually using. Really important when people are deciding to select you as an operator. And then also which MEV relays you're using. Now here, there's just a list of some that have been chosen, but the broad categorizations there are to do with whether you're censoring or not, and using censorship resistant relays, and people getting to choose which operators they select, whether they want to be building blocks with those particular relays. So there's huge amounts of customization and flexibility there, and it's really exciting to see that not only will it increase the effectiveness and the amount of income the validators are earning, it will also allow for greater customization and choice from the people who want to run the validators as well. So there you go. That's everything about MEV on SSV in a short 5 minutes. Thank you.
That's super interesting, Iridian. I actually have a question, and I'd like to open up questions for some of the other members, maybe if they would like. But can you speak to the improved liveness? So instead of having now just traditionally you have one MEV block signed by a validator, now you have the same block signed by 4 validators, by those multiple operators in the cluster, and they're all on the same relay.
Yes.
What is that increases what does that have to do with the liveness and the increase thereof?
Yeah, so that's an exciting proposition in general with DVT, is that the liveness can increase by more people, particularly in an ssv.network style DVT implementation. But when we talk about the relay specifically, if all the operators are connected to the same relay, the relay that proposed the block, whoever gets the final signature, whoever gets consensus first, can send it straight away, and then everyone else can send it. So the relay is just waiting for the signed block to come back, and whoever gets there first wins. And timing matters a lot with MEV, because you want to propose a block as late as possible to make sure it gets the maximum MEV in that block, because it increases over time. But you also don't want to send it too late, otherwise it might get missed. So the increased liveness there is that you can send the block as late as possible inside of the slot, but there's the highest chance of it actually getting there quickly because it's being sent by everyone in the cluster, whether it's 4 or 10 or however many in your operator set.
That's very interesting. Does anyone have any questions for Iridian about this, or are we good? Because let me just open up that floor quickly. We all good? So I think pretty much everyone here was at EthCC, right? I think I wasn't there myself. I heard it was really, really quite the experience. But I just want to hear from some of you guys, from Alon, from Iridian, from GBeast. I'm not sure if you were there, but how was it? Like, what are your takes? And did you guys, what was the chat about DVT there? Were there lots of people talking about it? Was it still, kind of in the shadows a little bit before we make our amazing pounce? Yeah, can you please speak to that?
My impression was that DVT is becoming a thing of its own. I think up until a few months ago, most of the DVT discussions were around the actual project, so us or others talking about DVT. And I think now I'm starting to see, I saw both in ETH Barcelona, but also now in Paris, that DVT is becoming a discussion point in of its own. People are working on it, discussing it, interested in it by themselves, and so that's really great to see, and I'm hoping to see that becoming more and more.
Yeah, definitely. I can comment from the solo staker side. I was at one of the ETH staker events where we had lots of solo stakers in the room, and there was also hardware providers like Dapnode and Avado there as well, and talking to them about how people can run DVT even more easily using the SSV packages on their platforms. People were really excited, and it's finally opening up the ability to solo stake from people that were very interested but were blocked by the capital requirements. So yeah, definitely exciting, and people are really keen to get started.
That's very interesting. So I actually recently just finished co-writing an article with one of our community members, Tiger, about doing a serverless operator node integration with SSV. So basically spinning up your rocket pool mini pool, and then you only need hardware for the first initial setup, essentially. And then from there, you can take that key to SSV and split it between the operators. And then you can turn off the computer, and then you can have your own mini pool set up through Rocket Pool using SSV with no like actual integration. Just build it like that for yourself. I think, having the building blocks like that is quite amazing. So yeah, no, I'm very excited. So GBeast, I'd like to hear from you maybe, since we're talking about the verified operators. How powerful of a tool is it to have for like developers and even for like solo stakers, for people to be able to access, these like super like high performance and like basically KYC operators?
Well, I guess thinking of it from two perspectives. I mean, there's sort of the small solo staker perspective, which is having access to the tools yourselves allows you to access a much larger pool of potential customers. There's a lot of buzz right now, different platforms, SSV primarily, but others as well, trying to reach out to solo stakers and say, look, onboard our software and be part of our network. So that's a big benefit for solo stakers. And I think then if they're able to offer their horsepower to the larger networks, that's a big win for them.
Cool stuff. Yeah, I think it's also like in terms of developers, I think it's invaluable for a developer to be able to come and just like use SSV, and they don't have to set up all of their own validator infrastructure and handle all of those complexities. They can just go and just basically plug into ssv.network and focus on their products. Awesome. So before we end off, last but not least, let's have Sean tell us a bit more about our Ode campaign. It was quite a success. the previous one. And yeah, I think it's a very cool initiative. Sean, can you please tell us a bit more?
Yeah, happy to. Let me just share my screen. All right, let's get started. And so, hey everyone, do you remember that awesome Galaxy Oak campaign that we ran not long ago? Guess what? We're back for round 2. We're turning this into a series, and it's going to turn into a cool way for you to flex your SSV loyalty. We reckon these oats are going to be badges of honor in the SSV universe. And who knows, they might even just open up some cool doors for you a little bit further down the line. We're not the only ones who are stoked about sharing these with our crew. Our verified operators will be getting in on the action too, with planned co-marketing oat campaigns. This way, we're all working together to build our communities and support the network as a whole. So let's just take a look at our previous campaign. First things first, our first Galaxy Oak campaign was a total smash hit. So as we can see here, we minted a whopping 6,266 NFTs and racked up thousands of followers on Galaxy, Twitter, and Discord. However, the real star of this campaign was the super cool animated oat. So a big high five to everyone who managed to bag one of these. Right, let's hop over to our main page. Let's have a look at the profile page. And so here you can see our campaigns and just look at what you've all helped us to achieve. Thanks to our last Oak campaign, we now have a cool 2,949 followers. And another thing to point out to you is that the first campaign, so, you got the awesome oat and it was worth 35 points in that campaign. Here we've got another amazing oat and this one is worth 100 points to you. So let's hop on over into this campaign and let's see what's involved. Right, guys, so just a quick heads up before we dig a little bit further into this campaign. This is a limited campaign. We are keen to build engagement, but we also want to keep these oats precious. This is the second of a series. These oats are your bragging rights, your badge of honor in SSV's world. And you know what the gossip is? Owning these oats might just open up some sneaky opportunities to you for the lucky few who own them a little bit down the line. So definitely getting on the action, right? So if you're ready to roll, here are the 6 easy peasy steps to glory. Number 1, follow us on Twitter. For the next task, this will be revealed at the end of the call. So as soon as we're finished, definitely go out and be one of the first to get in on the action, guys. Next, please support the ecosystem by running an Ethereum transaction. And now after this, you're almost right to finish off. Carry out a retweet task, 1 like task. And if you're not already part of the gang, then come and join us in Discord. So remember, guys, this is a limited time thing. So snag your piece of SSV history while you can.
Thank you so much, Sean. Very, very good to see all of this thought that's been put behind this campaign. I think people that have been following this rollout will have something to remember it by. It is a phased process. So, I mean, it does take time, but it is definitely worth it at the end of the day. And yeah, I would just like to thank everyone for being here, for having this call, for sharing your expertise. It's really nice to have community members and people involved in the project that are like super knowledgeable and really actually care about the staking space. So yeah, thank you all for being here. I just like to say from my side, thank you for joining, everyone for listening up. Please keep an eye on our Twitter and join our Discord for all the latest alpha relating to the rollout. There's still phases to come, so check out our blog for the mainnet rollout phases. And yeah, I've got a sneaky feeling we'll be back with the next mainnet call before you even know it. All right. Thank you, everyone. And goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.